This is Charlie Parsons for Boxing Social in association with William Hill and Empire Fight Store. Always a pleasure, Mr. Sonny Edwards. Been going back and forth recently. We ended up doing that live last week post Usyk-Dubois. I said, look at the pull on the boy. About 300 people joined instantly. Joined up on Zoom. How are you, bro?
Yeah, I'm all good. I'm all good. First interview we've done in a while. I forgot about that, to be honest. That little live. I've not been on Instagram live in a while.
I think it was just everyone was on it after Usyk-Dubois. Actually, you know what? Let's go straight into that because at the time, um, I thought it was a legal blow. Uh, I think I had a little bit of sort of like short-sighted, just instantly I'd seen it, not really processed it. I remember waking up the next day and feeling a little bit right, okay, the arguments for borderline are fair. What do you think now?
Um, it's one of those where, in my genuine opinion, it probably depends which fighters landing that shot. I feel like if Usyk lands that shot, it's a knockout in whatever round that happens,
Yes.
and it's getting counted, and that's done. And I feel like maybe, unfortunately, that's just the way that boxing is more commonly, unfortunately. But um, it was low if you take where the protector is. For me, where the protector was, it was a shot that hit him in an area that I wouldn't consider low. I'll be real. It was above the actual waist. It was above the actual like what as a human skeleton would consider lower. It didn't. The pain wasn't that of one that got hit, in his bollocks or nothing. It weren't one that um he was getting pain from there. I think you could see that. I think that was quite visible. It was definitely a shot that landed sort of like in the bottom pit of the stomach. Um, but it's where his protector was, and yeah, he got given time. I think that body shot definitely ended the fight. I don't think he was getting up in no 10 seconds. I think he tried to kind of hop straight up, and he showed that he couldn't. Um, then yeah, after that, Usyk switched on more and got to his boxing and finished that round even quite strong and sort of took over from there. And then you know broke the bar down and won in probably more typical fashion of what I was expecting. I feel like maybe Usyk took the bar a little bit lightly, didn't respect his power and his athleticism maybe as much as he should have. And I think the bar, okay, he wasn't winning rounds, but he was moving nicely with Usyk. He wasn't taking loads of clean shots. Not until the final stages of the fight, he wasn't um, being made to miss crazy. His feet were staying with Usyk for the most part. He was finding little shots here and there, and then, like I said, that body shot for me probably should have been at end of the fight. I believe. I feel like again, if I and I'm a big fan of Usyk, always have been, and rate him as one of the best fighters that I've ever been, and still do. One performance don't undo all the stuff that he has done in a boxing ring. I feel like the bar was in there looking to change his life, and he always starts very motivated and very inspired. And I think it wasn't getting caught as much as maybe perhaps he thought he could have been. And I think he got a lot of confidence from that. I feel like when he started to slow down a bit, being the bigger framed man, and Usyk maybe found his range and his confidence of letting his hands go a little bit more, and also seeing the bar slow down a little. Yeah, he unravelled, and he may have unravelled quite quick. I see a lot of comments on the whole, wow, well, that's the second time he's quitted. And I think with the bar, you kind of know what you're getting. But as long as he keeps going in first round and gives an honest account of himself and, gives every bit of fight until, it isn't no more, he'll beat a very good level of fight. I mean, he's only lost to Joyce and Dubois and Usyk so far. So I think, yeah, Dubois probably showed, if anything, that his stock of actually competing at the highest level has gone up. If anything, okay, yeah, he took a clean shot and people think he stayed down. But when you're a beaten man, you have every right to make that decision. And yeah, it's not like he finished the Joyce fight and he's carried that in. Like I say, the beginning of his next big fight against Usyk. So um, yeah, I think Daniel can definitely come again and again, but maybe with a slightly different setup. He's landing a shot and maybe he's getting credited for it. I can always see the argument of why it was low, because it was obviously on the protector. I just asked the question as where was the area of pain? I feel like if you take his protector off, his area of pain was a part of his body that people wouldn't have said was a low shot.
Is Fury more inclined now to see? Obviously, we saw that there were parts of the Joshua fight where Oleksandr Usyk looked like he didn't want to be hit to the body. Daniel Dubois clearly showing the same thing. Fury's massive, such a long, rangy guy. He would be able to sort of definitely find Usyk easier than some of the others. Do you think he's more inclined now for that fight?
Maybe, maybe not. I'm not involved in negotiations. I don't know how close or how far that fight's ever been to being made. So the truth is, I have no clue. It might make it bigger. It was a bigger talking point. There was more question marks. There's another British fighter involved, same promoter. Um, it might, the balance sheet of what Fury might want to get paid if that's the reason. Um, or if he's happy doing, Ngannou fights and the like for maybe even more money than he'd get for challenging against Usyk. I'm not sure. It's I guess an interesting, unique, and maybe a little bit frustrating situation, as we should be in a world where it's, well, Usyk beat the bar is mandatory. Well, there's only one fight now to be made, and we get the Fury fight announced, and he's there because his promoter was involved in that fight. So it should have been the easiest conversation in the world because they're already in conversation. It could have already be preset, lined up. Fury could have been there to announce the fight after, but that's not the world we live in. I've been watching At Home with the Fury, so I think that's given us a better insight as to why some of these fights aren't being made. And yeah, but at the same time, Fury, he's got his own career, he's got his own leverage, his own pull. So long we've had to sit and wait for massive fights for years and years and years previous to this. So um, why has Fury got to be set any different sort of standard than we've allowed all these other great fighters? Once you can put an event and generate that, then your options are much more than the fighter that kind of needs that one fight to make anywhere sort of that money. So frustrating, definitely, and a situation that I would like to see within the next 12 months. We have an undisputed heavyweight champion after all of the sort of twists and turns in this story of who everyone thought was going to get it, and when the dynamic, I guess, of the division has changed, and at what times it has been an interesting storyline. I think if someone is sort of crowned the man of this era through that fight, there wouldn't really tend to be too many arguments of how all the results have gone. So um yeah, hopefully for boxing's sake, heavyweight division sorts itself out in the next 12 months.
Liam Smith, repeat or revenge, Chris Eubank Jr. A lot of talk in the build-up. I found Callum Sauerland saying Eubank's going to use that whole pound. He always comes in at sort of that 159. We know what the 157 cut did to him with the Conor Ben fight. He's still only coming at 159.3. I know we can't look into that too much, but after being told for so long that we were expecting him to come at the top ends of the sort of middleweight limit, still point 0.7 off. It's a lot when you're making weight, when you're stripping yourself down. What do you think?
Um yeah, I feel for the fight as a whole, I think um I had Liam Smith as very much in the fight last time. Okay, the way it kind of all quickly unraveled was a bit of a shock. Eubank was looking relatively nice and starting to find his range with a couple of uppercuts, and then all of a sudden, completely dispatched of your man. But I've always had Liam Smith as a very good level fighter. He's an international slash world level fighter and has been for the majority of his career. He's very tried and tested. He's very war hardened. He's shown that he can take a shot and give a shot and stay genuinely in the fight. Where Eubank, every kind of time he stepped up to a level that Liam Smith or other or above, he seems to have always come up short. I think he's yet waiting for that really breakout win. Some may argue that the Gale win, but I feel like that was a very faded and maybe disillusioned the Gale. I don't think it was no best version of, quite far from, if anything. Maybe that's because of how good Eubank was that night, maybe. But I don't know. I feel like Liam Smith, if he wasn't the favourite the first time, has to be going in the favourite this time. But not just how the fight ended either. I feel like there's more telling signs of how their career trajectories have gone, momentum, stability in camps and not having to move here, there, and everywhere. And I'm not sure. I feel like I'm quite confident with Liam Smith. I heard some whispers that Eubank was struggling for weight or trying to move the goalposts at last minute about the weight. I don't know how true that is. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if this weight cut again has done quite a lot to Chris Eubank. And with Liam Smith being the relatively smaller man, people always look at the disadvantages, but when you make weight relatively easy and you've been lighter than that, and now you've filled out and you're stronger, and your camp consists of eating 4 full-in meals a day. If you want a snack, you've got that all sort of tailored in. You're allowed to drink a lot of fluid and not have to worry about it. And then you've got the fighter that is maybe boiling a little bit close to the borderline to be one of those really big fighters. It's percentages, 1% a little bit harder than the last time. It was hard the last time. What effect is that happening within 24 hours, 36 hours of weighing in? So, yeah, I think Liam Smith's got every bit of confidence. He knows he can hurt Chris as well, so he can sort of half weight and be a bit more calculated. He doesn't have to think about breaking him down as much. Like, he knows once he hits him, he can hurt him. So, yeah, I think Liam Smith's got a lot of confidence going in this and probably should be the heavy favourite on the bookies. I'm not sure what the bookies is, but I would be favouring Liam Smith quite heavy, but you never know. It's boxing. Eubanks famously had a good engine, good punch resistance. We didn't see that last time, but maybe the shouts about the elbows and when he did actually get hurt and a bit overwhelmed and flustered, maybe he has his arguments. We don't know his experience of when things started to change and his legs didn't feel like they used to. So yeah, who knows? A good fight nonetheless. I think the first 4 or 5 rounds of the last one was a great fight.
Did Eubank have to stick it on him a little bit more last time? He sort of got a little bit too comfortable away with his sort of, just little things.
Maybe, but maybe not. Maybe he just needs to make more correct decisions. His IQ, what punch he's choosing, when he's letting off, when he's holding his feet, when he's, opening up to let a shot go, when he's looking to ride the shot out and, take a few on the arms and try and negate the pressure. For me, maybe better decisions, and that's probably the hardest thing to change, if I'm honest.
Yeah. Discipline
That,
things. Been
yeah, but that's ring IQ that you learn through having real life fights, real hard sparring, and having to go through these range of emotions. When there's been a couple of rounds in a row against maybe a fight that you're better than, but you might have got a cut, and now his strengths come up, and he's really going, and he was probably taking these rounds off a little bit because, like, going through those for a good career of the right matchmaking, it pays its dividends now in a fight like this. When you've had, easy knockout, easy knockout, easy knockout, easy knockout, easy knockout, easy knockout, easy knockout. Okay, step up, loss, easy knockout, easy knockout, easy knockout, step up, loss, easy knockout, easy knockout. You're only probably learning from those step up losses. Like they're probably your biggest learning curves. You're not having the fight where, okay, it might not look the best TV because you might have had to make it a little bit more boring to make it a bit more comfortable, or you might have to ride a storm or two so you look a bit more human. But it's what that actually does for the overall trajectory of your career. And I feel like a fighter like Chris Eubank that was matched in a way where we saw a lot of explosive knockouts early on, rather than okay, well, he can take his punch, so now's what he's going to do for the next 10 rounds, etc. Seated himself off experience, and that will be probably the biggest curve. No matter what trainer you have, they'll be trying to tell you whatever information they've got in their head to you, and it's how you're processing it and relaying it back in real time. And I feel like the decision making and self-awareness on what's happening when you're letting your shots go and how dangerous your opponent is and where you're putting yourself in the ring and how and when you're using your energy. I feel like it's them things all stacked on top of each other that will be a bigger hurdle than anything else for Chris Eubank to overcome in a space of time. And yeah, he might have one of the world's best trainers in Bomac with him But maybe, more time would have helped. Maybe more
4 weeks
time spent.
ain't gonna be massive.
No, good in the corner, good first slight change. No, do this. But how much the belief system, you can put into your muscle memory, and do it whilst the fight's happening, while your whole life is altering at what's going on in this boxing ring at the same time. Um, like Chris Eubank said, he needs to win this fight. He needs to, and I feel like the problem that I see sometimes for rematches with a fighter that may be expected to win the first time and lost, um, when they make a lot of excuses, their mind is sometimes in a place that is counterproductive and more self-sabotage, because he's only looking at the elbow, and he's only looking at, well, you did this, and he's only looking at, people are telling me that the fight should have been carried on, and in a big fight I should get, because he's only, now this is the reason, that is the reason, that is the reason. It might block the amount of development he could have even
Yeah,
had, because he's not opening his mind. At the end of the day, in boxing, all you are is the conversation you're having with yourself as the fight's going on. The moment your mind quickly says to you, the rest of you, and your brain's saying, I don't even want to be here, your body will follow suit very quickly. If you're getting a big shot like you've never taken before, and your drive's going up because you feel like you've made it, and this is what hard fights and big nights feel like, it's the same reality but a different reaction. And I don't know, if you're very close-minded, if he gets in there, expects it to be all be easy again, and then he gets caught, that's when, the sort of the illusion turns to delusion, and it all unravels in front of you. And then his reaction in his head will be more one of, well, hold on, if I genuinely don't think he's that good and he's doing this to me, what am I? Do you know what I mean? And it's that mindset rather than, oh, well, I was expecting a really hard fight. He hurt me last time. Yeah, okay, I got put down. I get it. You know what I mean? Well, this is better than last time. Do you know what I mean? It's a different reaction to the same reality. And I feel like, I don't know, I don't really like his reactions to, some of the gloves are off and the press
yeah.
conference questions, it just, but at the same time, I feel like every boxer needs to be delusional to especially a certain degree, to even do what we do, and get knocked out and then think it's a great idea to, I'm gonna fight him again and everyone's gonna watch it again, but this time I'm gonna beat him. Like, it's a certain range of emotions that, without offending most people, everyone that's watching this, normal people don't really understand, because 99 times out of 100, scratch that, 999 times out of 1,000, even more than that. If a human in real life gets knocked out by someone,
You ain't going back. Yeah.
yeah, you ain't going back. If anything, that person can step on your toe and you're going, oh, sorry about that, mate.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I
yeah.
mean? But I don't want to revisit that same experience of when you punched my head in last time, and I don't think I can do any better. But, for a boxer to go through that same thing pretty much in a different way, and, have that confidence and that belief to go to sleep at night, wake up, think about this fight when it ended the way it did last time, credit to him. But yeah, maybe it's easier to sort of maybe delude yourself to the reality, because he didn't really give all too much props to Liam for the first win. It was more, well, it was an elbow, the ref probably should have let me carry on. It was this, that, and the third. It was, yeah, rather than, oh, he was a better man. You know
If
what I
I
mean?
if I had to push you, simply put in a couple of sentences for a prediction, would you make one?
Smith knockout,
How soon?
7, 8.
A little bit longer this time round. Sonny, let me ask you, your fight. Um, an announcement early, but so far away. How excited are you? Spoke to you before when we were just having a little natter off recording. You're training hard, you're in every day. Everything's coming together nicely. I know you had a good summer. You seem like a happy fighter. A happy fighter tends to be a dangerous fighter. Looking forward to sort of being able to have your first opportunity with him face to face and sort of get something back out of him, because it's been very quiet on Bam's side.
Yeah, I feel like it's always expected. I feel like, even though I've never really had to do the whole back and forth build up of fights, 9 times out of 10, my opponent don't really speak English too much, or there is no real build up to speak of to need to build up a fight. Um, but I think my presence is always sort of known that sort of back and forth doesn't really bother me. If anything, probably kind of
I spur you
plays
on.
into how I prefer my boxing career to go. They've probably made the decision from early, yeah, don't get into it with him, but that's fine. Silence is deafening, and there's going to be some press conferences, but that's not where the fight is. That's not the strongest string of my bow. Like, I'm a fighter. I'm a very, very good fighter. I would argue one of the best pound for pound boxers in the world. I feel like what I do is very, very hard to beat. I feel like I spend a lot of rounds in the ring because I don't knock no one out. But I spend a lot of that time completely in control, whether I'm dancing around the back foot or I'm stood right in front of them in the corner. No one's yet to really see me in any proper bother or danger, or can't get out the way of shots or taking 2, 3 in a row. It's not really happened. I've had a couple of close rounds, and that's probably about it. Um, it's a fight that I've wanted, not this fight particularly. Who it was probably didn't really matter. It's the event that people genuinely care about. It's breaking America and going over there and using the sort of build up that I've already organically probably gained myself from just being myself. I feel like I've already got quite a good, genuine support base in America. I've connected and spent time talking over the years with, some of their social media presences, I guess, in boxing Twitter, and that's probably helped me roll out to a few more, them keeping up with my fights, interacting with it. And, I've had quite a few messages already of people in America, you know, looking down to get tickets, getting across to Arizona for the fight. So, like, this event is what I've been waiting for probably my whole career. I have not had a fight with this much attention, exposure, build up, anything, interest, whatever. So, winning world titles was nice. Headlining shows was nice. Winning British title, whatever was nice. Getting paid, whatever was nice. I've always been waiting for this moment in boxing. That proper event that people care about. This is that part of the film for me. This is, the sort of the door to walk through to much bigger and greater nights for myself, for my team, for British boxing, for world boxing. Yeah, and it's all in this fight that sort of gets the fires going that need to be going for me to, prepare, stay switched on, and really be excited for a fight more than ever. And also, I'm getting another world title. My claim to being, the genuine number one in the division, one of the top pound for pound fighters in the world. This ticks all of those boxes. And if you ask me the reality of it, I've got a very good fight in front of me. I've had very good fighters in front of me. I've always wanted to have good fighters in front of me. Never wanted an easy fight. That's the difference between me and them. Probably the rest of a lot of the boxing world is I get up for the big fights. I get bored and disillusioned by the easy fights. I have to start challenging myself in other ways by seeing how much weight I can crash, or how easy I can train, or how few sessions I can do, like, just to make it a bit more of a mental challenge. That sounds crazy to some people, but this fight ticks all the boxes that it needs to, and then some. And the reality is, he's a 23-year-old, relatively untested, had his best nights of work against, faded fighters that were probably always in their best nights, or like their best fights on the losing end, as very competitive losers, and with some decent wins of themselves, but more faded fighters that were just there in front of him and allowed him to use all of his utilities to look tremendous in winning. And I do genuinely believe, and I said before, I gave him his props years ago. The fact that he went up the 2 weights, he was young, took it at short notice, all of that is 100% behavior from a fighter that I can get behind, even to the point of challenging me and fighting me. Behavior I can get behind. I do think they felt like they had some other options and they could have went other ways, and it kind of stalled it. It was a bit more difficult to work with than maybe I thought they would have been, seeing the fights he's already taken and jump in and last minute, etc. But I suppose when you get the leverage, the conversation starts changing. So I respect and appreciate that. But yeah, I don't think it's no surprise that he's not really wanting to exchange in a war of words. But as long as he turns up on the 15th of December for the weigh-in and the 16th for the fight, then he can wear headphones for all I care at the press conference. It doesn't matter. I don't need to get in his head to beat him. I don't need to win no war of words. My confidence speaks for itself, and I feel like that's probably the biggest reason I've always struggled to get these fights and to get the names. Like every single opponent, go back and look at my record. Not one of those opponents, all good fighters, but not one of those opponents had some real leverage platform position in boxing that they was defending where it's like, well, I don't need to box you.
Yeah,
I can box him.
yeah.
Every single one that come to fight me was coming to change their life, even coming up. Every single one of them. I'm facing world champions that beating me would have been their biggest like marketable win on their whole resume. So yeah, it's this is the first time I'm really getting to, you know, go against someone that's got their own position in boxing, and maybe in some ways bigger than mine. Maybe in other ways not. I feel like it's quite balanced. I feel like there's a lot of people that rate him highly, as they should. I feel like a lot of people are letting the the way he wins cloud their opinion on the fight. Um, because the way I win, to a lot of people, it maybe seems closer. To a lot of people, it may seem less exciting. It may seem less dominant. But to people that are really watching boxing and understand the sweet science, check where my feet are. Could he hit me there? When could he hit me? Well, I've hit him 2, 3 times. Like, when are they eking into the fight? Oh, there was that round and that round. Okay, but what was Sonny really doing? Was he standing in the corner and letting him punch out his whole gas tank in the 10th round so that the last 2 rounds were easy when he wanted to box and move? Or was he pinned in the corner? People aren't as good at looking at my style, with this world we live in where everything's, quick and highlight reel sort of media, to a certain degree. They got to sit down and watch mine for 36 minutes. But I feel like they don't see the level of control that I put in the boxing ring every time I go in, and my style and identity of a fight is wherever and whenever I want it to be.
Sonny, hold that
And
quickly. The Zoom's saying it's about to end. It says
I
less
got it.
left. Let me send you another link, yeah? Of
You're gonna have to pay me for the second episode.
course. Just picking this back up. Zoom had a 40-minute limit, ended up kicking me out. Too busy nattering off on before we got going. Sonny, I was going to ask you, right? You've had to do this the hard way, as much as you sort of talk about this fight with Bam and sort of needing something to step up for, and him saying the right things, and you respect him. You go in as a bookies underdog, that won't bother you, but you've had to take the name second in the in the sort of fight poster and everything. I'm sure they've tried to make it as difficult for you. I know that you put out a tweet saying, "Oh, I had to take some of the downsides just so he'd accept the fight." Does that bother you, the fact that you're sort of having to do all the cooperating? You're the one going to America. It's your name second.
No, because all of those superficial things that don't add or take away from what happens in the ring. And if anything, I want people to write me off if what I've realized is there isn't much gain from people expecting something and it happening. Usually very little is gained, if anything. So yeah, I want them to write me off. I want them to favor him. I want them to over promote and oversell him. He's a great fighter, so they should. Deserves every bit of attention and limelight they get. Um, but none of those reasons that you previously mentioned would have been reasons as to why the fight weren't happening. Oh, well, I've been a flyweight champion longer, so I wanted to. No, I don't care. I'm going over as the way fighter. I'll go second on the poster. It's no it makes no difference to me. I'll be perfectly honest. I feel like
You say
fighters
that as
might
if
do that.
it's you laugh though, but in boxing that is quite a big thing for a lot of contracts.
Yeah, but for me, I feel like it's a reason why a fighter can say that a fight didn't happen or demand more money. I wasn't trying to get any more money out of the fight. Like I'd said, the day that I signed the contract with Eddie or agreed terms even, the Bam fight was in the plan. If they could get him to agree, I knew what I was earning. I knew where it could be, where it would be maybe potentially. Because I expected them to not, want to come to the UK. I expected them not want to go neutral. I expected them to want to have every advantage and fight in his time zone and and push for first on the poster, and I expected all of that. So it won. It was a mute point. I just wanted the fight made. I wanted the poster done. I wanted the fight announced. I wanted the promo. I wanted the build up. I wanted the posters, everything. I wanted it straight away. I weren't losing the fight, demanding a little bit more. I could have maybe got it. I could have tried, oh well, maybe we do something else. I could have done all those little games, but I'm not in this game to play games. I'm here to be involved in the biggest fights, to get the best out of me whilst I'm in the physical peak of my life and able-bodied to do so. I'm not going to be one of these fighters that lose their best days in the boxing ring, fighting under par opponents, looking great, and then when it's time to step up and really cement your legacy, now I'm lacking, or now I'm not as good as I was a few years ago. That's win, lose or draw. I can live with the shots that I take and I don't make, and I like to bet on myself. It's how I get the best out of myself. I want um to prove to myself how good I am, and so far I don't think anyone's shown me a level that I'm not comfortable with in a boxing ring in my whole life. I've not seen it yet, so I'm in pursuit of that. I don't think it will be bam. I'm very confident in taking this fight. It's a fight that I wanted, and I think more than the other side, that gives me a great deal of confidence that they were stalling and negotiating more money, and oh, but we could do this, and oh, well, we need it here, and oh, we need to be up. I don't care. I want the fight. I'm an easy man to make a fight with. I've said this my whole life. Um, yeah, I weren't willing to lose on the negotiation table, so it didn't really matter what they were saying. They made a few out their request, like 16-foot rings and that. It's got laughed at, like, come on, let's not play silly games. 20 foot, go straight in the middle. I'm not out here asking a 24 and going max and having an ice rink to skate around. I'm not asking for that. So let's play the game. You've got it where you want it. There are no stipulations. They didn't ask for no rematch, but I didn't ask for no rematch. One and done, how I think all good fights should be, and let the winner progress with a whole range of options. Who knows? The rematch might be the biggest fight, and we'll talk about that after. And if it's a great fight that people want to see again, then who knows? But respect them for that side of things, I guess. But yeah, it's been very easy for me to be confident because I know how much I want this fight. So the fact that there was delays and stalls in it was all completely their side. And yeah, respect to them for getting over the line, getting what they wanted, and Eddie for making it all happen, and Matchroom and DAZN for believing in the fight. So yeah, like I was saying before, it's just one of those fights for me that ticks all the boxes that in my eyes are required to bring the best version out of myself. And I feel like I'm already showing myself in training, sparring, already in camp. Um, and then what I'm doing and got planned to do over the next, 13, 14 weeks, however long till the fight. But I'm excited. Genuinely, it was them that wanted, the last date in December, and it was them that wanted to pick and choose where it was, etc. I'm just happy that I've got a plan and a fight that I'm excited about, and a chance to win my second world title in boxing, and further what I've already done in my first 20 fights. I think I've definitely got another 20 more, maybe another 20 after that. So here's to them.
Funny, I might ask you this in a way different to I would ask any other fighter. The reason being your mentality, your confidence is probably the strongest I've seen of any active boxer. Do you consider what defeat would do to you?
I consider myself a great fighter. So if someone's beat me fair and square, even if not fair and square, I'm a humble champion more than I think people let certain sound bites let them believe. If someone beats me in combat, then they earn a shake of my hand to them. They deserve all the respect. And if I'm honest, if someone is to beat me, I would just consider them a great fighter. Because that's what I consider myself. I know someone's not going to get in the ring and make it remotely competitive if they're not a good fighter. So and I can live with that. It's not It's not pride, it's not ego speaking, it's a desire for competitive challenge in something that I've dedicated my whole life doing. I spend a lot of rounds on autopilot. I spend a lot of rounds, a lot of weeks, a lot of months, fights, years and parts of my career without really having anything too much to think about when I'm in a boxing ring. So I could, like I said before, quoting James Harden, I can live with the shots I take. If someone beats me, you'll see me probably go harder than I was going on the other side of it. Learning every lesson, and taking my defeat like a man. You don't go swimming without getting wet. I don't think that I live on some cloud of invincibility because I'm that good. Every time I got to get in the ring, I've got to prove it again. That's whether I'm sparring, that's whether I'm fighting. That's every time I've got to prove it to the person I'm in the ring with, and to anyone that's watching it. So
Final
yeah,
one.
it's not sorry, and I think it's my mindset around failure and around setbacks and bouncing back from them and mindset, etc. It's probably my mindset around that that is the main reason for all my confidence and the main reason that I will roll the dice and make sure that I take the fight. Oh, 13-year unbeaten world champion. There's probably easier champions out there, and we could put no. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Well, you've never had a world title fight before, and yeah, that's fine. I'll fight him. When do you want me to fight him? Alvarado, we done it. Fine. Yeah, mandatory, fine. Oh, Bam Rodriguez, we done it. Fine. Fine. It's
It is
so easy.
regression.
Yeah, but it's so easy for me to not consider what a defeat would do to me because I want the challenge more than I want fame or more than I want people to think I'm a good fighter or more than I want people or fortune and financials and more than I want all of that. I want the challenge. I want that experience of being in the ring with great fighters that are dedicating their whole life to the same sport that I have and see who's better. Like that means more to me. That moment in time, that experience of the build up of the attention of the media, of the crowd coming, of the people waiting, talking about it, arguing for months and months. That experience means way more to me than anything else you can name. Um, and it's not pride and it's not ego. It's that chance of real high elite level fighting, and I believe I'm a top level fighter, so I must be in the ring with other top level fighters. Otherwise, what's the point?
Only finally from me, Eddie and Matchroom have been very outspoken about this sort of current drug problem that goes on within the sport that we love. I suppose, firstly, there's a lot of talk about Eubank Smith, the rematch this weekend, having no VADA testing. We understand that, look, with VADA testing comes further expenses, whatever, that's none of our business. This current in-house testing pool, something that I don't really know the intricacies at the minute. When I spoke to Eddie on Wednesday, he said it would be something that sort of from when you have your fight date announced or whatever it is, then something would go on. Do you think it's what we need?
Um, I don't know what we need. I don't. I've never been involved in the process of doping, of mastering it, of getting out your system, etc., etc. So I couldn't really tell you what we need to make the sport cleaner or better. I feel like one thing that people often miss in these arguments is Matchroom and Eddie Hearn making sure in negotiations of fights, especially non-title fights, because a lot of the stipulations of a lot of the governing bodies for world title big fights is that the additional drug testing of whatever governing body wants, it happens, especially for the bigger fights, and so it usually does happen. But when you've got the whole schedule getting filled up with VADA testing, and you've got the whole, Catterall versus Linares, a fight that perhaps typically in old times wouldn't have even thought really about having VADA testing unless one of the fighters made like. Bear in mind, like all of that argument, this is what people miss out on as well. All of that conversation about the BAM fight that happened At not one point did either side worry about testing. Why? Because I'm pretty sure we both consider each other clean fighters. So it just never was something that needed to be brought up at a point that stalled. Okay, we'll get back to you on that one. Like, so is it because we're hiding something? I doubt it. I know from my side it's not. Like as fighters, it's like, is it something that you even like? I've been in the ring so many times. I've probably been in the ring against someone dirty and not known, not known. Do you know what I mean? And like by statistics, you'd probably believe that at least to a certain degree. At some point. So it is what it is. I'm still gonna get in the ring. I thought other fighters feel the same. Um, you kind of have to applaud, and this isn't really Team Matchroom FC supporting. You kind of have to applaud the willingness to keep testing fighters and make it more of like a standardized procedure from the promoter side of things when they have nothing to gain, zero to gain, apart from making the fight
Cancelled.
safer
Yeah.
and appeasing the public image. Do you know what I mean? The only thing they stand to gain the moment someone a fighter pops, if it's their fighter and it's the headline, they could lose the whole event. They could have to do all the refunds. They've lost their deposit on the venue. There's not got a show going on, and that arena's empty on that Saturday night, etc. Or they've had to change the fight. They've had to get someone in. They've had to pay them over their value. They've had to lose out money on tickets, etc. Like, it's the biggest headache in the world for the promoter, more than the fans. Like, okay, I lost out £300 on a hotel room and a train ticket. The promoter might have lost out on like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of pounds on, they've flown people out. There's a whole team here that's all paid for. Now they've got to get someone else. Like, there's a lot more of a headache that goes on for the promoter, to the point of you could kind of forgive a promoter for being a bit like, oh, if no one's asked about drug testing, I'm not. Do you know what I mean? Really, if you ask me, like, and I'm a boxer, just saying like the realism of stuff, because all it is a headache looking for a a dirty fighter that pops clean, doesn't test clean. And like we've seen as a talking point this week, which is more of a talking point. If this was like 6 months ago, it wouldn't be a talking point, or a year ago. It's just that everyone's sort of on the conversation right now, one after the other, about foul drugs test. Smith versus Eubank is a non-title or non-major title, all British fight. WADA, any sort of drug testing body outside of UCAD being involved in that fight would be very rare, unless one of the fighters demanded it, being a stipulation of them fighting because of someone's history or something. Extremely rare. All of a sudden, it's, oh wow, no one wanted VADA testing for this fight. It's like, it would only have happened if people really argued for it. It wouldn't have. Like, it's not a world fight. It's a British versus British domestic good level fight. That's the reality of what it is. There's no major title, so it's not a world title fight, or European or something like that. So it would only probably ever have been UCAM. But like I said, it's a talking point right now. But if Matchroom are doing more testing, then that has to be something spoken about. Why is there not as consistent testing? I think it always boils back down to the same solution, and maybe creator of a whole new different range of problems. Until there's like a unionized league, until there's one body of world boxing that at least the major adhere to,
Everyone has
until
to.
there's that,
Yeah.
where there's like some sort of formalized structure, until there is that, then there's always going to be discrepancies. Whether a promoter wants to pay the extra £30,000 to give a chance that the main event is not going to happen because one of the fighters is going to fail a drug test, and give them even bigger headache, or make sure that they have a replacement opponent that's been paid, and make sure they're in camp and are going to be on weight, etc., etc. So you're literally asking, if we're talking about the reality of just fundamental logic of human, forget business, yeah, you're asking someone to pay to make their job potentially a lot harder
Yeah.
at any given moment, right at the end.
And to
You're
maybe
asking them,
stick for it themselves.
and then when one promoter who's doing more probably testing than others is then siding with his fighter, and still trying to make the event happening, because at the end of the day, they make the money of fights happening rather than not happening. I thought there was some legal, whatever, loophole, whatever, or miscarriage of justice, whatever. Of course, it shouldn't be up to the promoters who make money off the fight happening and lose money off the fight not happening to decide whether the fight is clean or not. It should be up to an FA type world governing body of boxing, that all the major smaller commissions that run the smaller, little variances of changes, they all sort of go in a funnel to the same sort of small round table of committee members somewhere, hopefully all with the best interest of boxing at heart. Until that happens, we're always going to have this conversation about something or another. Like, if it's not drugs, it's about someone's raps and that they're stacking and how to do it in that country. Like, if it's not that, it's if there's 3 knockdown in 1 round, it's a knockout, and if in another country it's not, or it's like
Always an argument, or was one shot low and the other one not.
there's
It's always an
something.
argument in boxing.
There's always going to be something, because there's no standardized rule. Go to America. There's, for however many states there are, there's that many different commissions.
Yeah.
There's that many different rule sets and different.
Which
Okay,
is
we don't even
also
need drugs.
problematic, but that is a story of its own for another day.
Exactly, but it's just a highlight of where boxing actually is and what the relationship of all these conversations are. Like, and everyone makes money when the fight happens, and no one makes money. If anything, it probably even costs the governing, the drug testing body, it probably costs them money, because now when they've got someone, oh, well, now you need legal fees because they're taking you to court. Oh, goddamn. Do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
who is winning? When are they winning? Like, why would they even bother? Like, it's almost like a uncurable disease of boxing. It's just gonna keep going back round and round and round, like, and no one benefits. No one benefits.
The imperfect sport that has so many problems, and when I speak to my friends, they bring up the same stuff, and I try and explain it, whether it be to do with drugs or fights not happening or whatever, but we still love the circus it is. Sonny, thank you for your time as always. I was going to say we look forward to your fight with Bam, but I'm sure we'll catch up a handful of times before then, press conferences, etc. Just a final note from you.
Nothing that stands out. I'm looking forward to Lyndon's fight tonight.
Yeah.
Channel 5 and the new IBO World Champion, hopefully, on Channel 5. Making my way in a couple of hours up to Manchester to support Lyndon. So yeah, looking forward to that. But yeah, apart from that, no, nothing. No, and you caught me on a chilled one today. I wasn't expecting to do an interview. I got a haircut, so I thought I might as well do one. I don't normally do Zoom interviews,
I
you
know,
see.
yeah, I count myself.
And actually, one more point, actually. You need to set up like a GoFundMe or something, because the amount of Zoom interviews you do, you can't still be using standard version that cuts off after 40 minutes, because
point,
you
That's
you
a
had
good point.
you had a world champion in the middle of his flow, right? And this is where you're getting a bit too comfortable, because maybe if this was maybe a higher profile, a more higher profile guest, they might have felt that's the interview done right now. Actually, no. And then you even told me that I had to wait for a 10-minute delay
Oh
penalty.
no, taking liberties.
So what I'm saying is, you could have lost. Like,
Good of. You always keep
yeah.
my toes, Sonny, though, but I like it. I like it. I never know if you're with me or you're not, but you always provide entertainment.
You know what it is? I feel like if you let people, they get too comfortable, and with being too comfortable, you get sloppy. And you know what it is? It's not a personal thing. I feel like just the way do you remember you're a media person? So that's a relationship that, albeit I do like you and I think you're a good guy, you're still a media person. So, sometimes it's nice to ruffle the feathers a little bit, just so when I get asked questions, they seem to be filtered a certain way. My experience is just a bit different from what I feel like other fighters are of boxing, and maybe it's because I keep people like you on your toes every now and then.
I think that may be true.